I run an agency called Aero. We're based in Milton Keynes. There's 25 of us, and we do playing on the internet, as I kind of call it, which is everything from SEO to PPC, paid social, bit of organic social, and content and PR. This is the story, and this is a true story, of the $1 Million Dog. More importantly, I'm going to show you how to get more out of paid campaigns, and that's not just paid social. There's kind of a little bit of AdWords in there as well. It does get quite geeky, and internet, hashtag sorry not sorry, it has to be a hashtag. I'm a geek, that's what I did, and that's where I've kind of come from, and I'm proud of it. So if we kind of go back a little bit just to start with, once upon a time, if you thought about online advertising, generally it was AdWords, Google Display Network to a point as well, and then Google obviously bought DoubleClick back in the day. But it was Google, and down there we can see kind of a little bit of Bing and a little bit of Yahoo as well, but really nobody gives a shit about that. You probably should do if you're B2B, like if people are locked into Internet Explorer, then Bing is important, but for the most part, it's Google. And then there was this revolution, and it all got a little bit complicated because we had all of these other networks that started to explode. You got your Facebooks, your Instagrams, your LinkedIns, your Flickrs, your Google Pluses, and all the other social networks that Google tried and failed to get to work as well. And that's kind of where I started my life doing this kind of stuff. So 2007, I was being an adult. I had a fairly decent job. I was living with a girl, and we'd just bought a dog. And at the same time as that, Facebook released their API, so their platform, so you could start making applications that link in with Facebook, and you can do things like play games on there. And I happened to make a game. Now, this wasn't the first game. I'd made another one in October 2007, I think it was, and that was kind of the first version. It did okay. We got like 25,000 players, something like that. It was called Safari Scrap, which translates to Sapphire is crap as well, if you kind of mix the letters up. So it's kind of, yeah. But anyway, second game, Pet Pups. My other half was like, look, you made this game. It's quite cool. You've got some people playing it. You're making a little bit of money from it. Why don't you make a game that lets people adopt a dog on Facebook? And like, I'm quite good at doing what I'm told because I'm not stupid, so I did. We put this together, like, I'm not a coder, I'm a bit geeky, but I'm really not a programmer, and I hacked this together with copy and paste from a few different sites and like making loads of coding errors, and it ran like a dog, pardon the pun. But it launched on the 6th of January. And shortly after that launched, it kind of went boom. And I got invited to speak down at the Facebook Developers Garage. It was this kind of tiny little event down at Facebook HQ in London. That was the first ever slide deck that I had put together in my professional life. That was it. Like, there was this other guy that came on before, and he got all these developers working for him, and he had 20 or 30 slides, and then you get this, like, I had a mop head at the time, like skinny, little, emaciated, white kid who'd just made this game. I kind of stood up and talked people through all the stuff that I'd done. And off the back of that, we ended up getting an acquisition offer from a company that had just had a load of investment. This was before Facebook games and before Facebook was really, really kind of that well known. And they wanted us to move out to San Francisco. And the acquisition offer came because we were one of the first ones to use virtual currency. So I think we were the first game on Facebook to take over $100 a day, and one of the first to take over $1,000 a day, or something ridiculous like that. And it all just kind of happened in the right place, right time. The problem was that we'd just bought a dog, and like that's the actual dog that we'd bought. And we were like, okay, so San Francisco, really excited. Can we pack up our lives? And there's a few other reasons. It's a bit of an over kind of convoluted version of this story. Dog, $1 million, dog. We were like, no, actually, we're gonna stay here, and we're gonna try and make it on our own, because we were earning good money from it as well. And that $1 million, yes, it was a lot of money, but we got a dog, and also we had a really good business there. That is when the acquisition offer came in around here. So you can see, you know, things kicked off. It was growing, and we kind of exploded. We were doing nearly 50 million page views a month on this game. After the acquisition offer, things carried on, and it does start to drop off a little bit. And this was when the likes of EA and those kinds of people started coming in. Shortly after that, the graph kind of goes down, and this is an accurate representation of what was going on in my head, thinking, I could be in San Fran now having a good time. The other part of this there was some positives that came out of it, because I actually, that game, we launched it, and it was because it was the only real dog game on Facebook, and it was the only one that was out there. And yes, it was just a picture of a dog, but it was quite new, and it gave people that escape where they could go onto Facebook and spend a few points feeding their virtual dog that's a picture. We had one American lady who spent 25 grand in a year on this dog. It's ridiculous. Yeah, ridiculous. But I had to learn how to market it, because as we were dropping off and as there was more competition coming in, we had to learn how to do things properly. So that is from this isn't the kind of the Facebook business ad account. This is back in the day. This was my personal Facebook advertising account. I spent $65,000 of my own money getting people to adopt a fake dog on Facebook. Like, I am not shitting you. This is a completely true story. You can buy a lot of dogs for $65,000. Like, a lot of dogs. You're creatives. I'm really sorry about that slide. But the ROI was about a 7x on that advertising spend. And it was the Wild West back then, so things are harder now. But we learned a lot, and doing it with your own money actually makes it really real. It's not as if you've got this client who go, yeah, we want to sell some stuff. And you're like, okay, well, I can help you. And it's not personal. That is personal. A lot has changed since then. And the question that we get asked a lot, it's not in these words, but actually how do you wade through the quagmire? Because you've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, you've got Twitter, you've got Pinterest, you've still got Google, you've got Bing, Yahoo. It just goes on and on and on and on. And we too often actually get wrapped up in the tech. And when I say tech, I'm talking platform as well. So should you use Facebook? Should you use something else? Should you be running programmatic? Is it remarketing? What should you be doing? And we get bogged down because there's so much that we actually could do. We forget to think what we actually should do. And the video guy before, I don't quite know how I follow a stand-up comedian on a presentation, but fine. Like, he was asking the question why, and that's the thing that I think in our industry we don't do enough. I think I've kind of got a solution for everyone. It's not an answer, it's a solution. And there's a subtle difference in my head with that, but we'll see if you agree. I've got a consideration framework that helps you build out a strategy. So when you're looking at advertising online, 3 key considerations. 1, what is it that you're actually promoting? What are you trying? Is it a product? Is it a service? Are you just trying to get some content in front of people? Is it a video? Are you running some ads through YouTube? And number 2, who are we trying to get in front of? And that's really important because it's people that we're trying to get in front of. It's not keyboards, it's not monitors, it's people that sit behind that. And we have to remember that. Is it past customers? So remarketing. Is it competitors' customers? Is it people that we don't know we exist? Is it a certain demographic? So are we talking the kind of 35 to 50s? Is it people who earn over a certain amount of money? Who is it that you're trying to get in front of? And what does success look like? That last question, again, I think we actually get ahead of ourselves too much because we're like, we're going to get all these people into this site. We're going to get all of these sales. But actually, what's your measurement? What is that success? Is it sales? Is it inquiries? Is it just brand visibility? Could it be people sitting at your event? Is it Facebook likes? If it is, no, please, don't measure yourself on Facebook likes or Twitter followers or anything like that. Use things that are concrete and actually add value. Define that before you start as well. Again, with what we do, I find it's really easy to, you want to succeed, you want to know that you've done a really good job and that campaign that you've run is a success. If you define what is a success before you start and you stick to it, really truly stick to it, that's when you know if you're doing the right thing or not. If you answer those strategic questions first and then you look at the tactics and how you're going to go about it. So let's talk Turkey. I'm going to cover Facebook in a bit more detail than AdWords, but AdWords, the way that I think of running search advertising through Google AdWords is that keywords are actually pre-qualified people. So I have gone off to Google, I've decided that I want to buy some trainers and I know which brand I want to buy. I'll type in, I want some Common Projects trainers. I know what I want, and if you're bidding on the right terms and you've got the right site and the right landing page, I'm a pre-qualified person who is more likely to come into your site and buy. It's not as if you've gone, well, I sell Common Projects trainers, therefore I want to get in front of people who earn a reasonable amount of money and are aged between 25 and 35. I've shown that intent already. There are some challenges with AdWords, namely that Google want to make as much money as they can. So a couple of years ago, we had the 3-pack become the 4-pack. In the past, I'm sure you remember, there was adverts down here and there was 3 at the top. They dropped another one down here, so there's more competition, which generally means higher cost per clicks. That's a problem because you're not going to get the same level of ROI when CPCs are increasing because there's more people bidding for the same amount of space. With AdWords, really quickly, if I had to give you 3 tips, make sure that you're structuring your match types properly on your campaigns. So I don't know if anybody here runs AdWords themselves or is involved in that or has a team that runs that, but as a general rule, when you're breaking out your ad groups, there's exact match, phrase match, and modified broad match. We tend to just use exact match, so common projects trainers, I have to type that in and nothing else to appear. And modified broad match, so it could be who is the best supplier of common projects trainers in the UK. There's those 3 words you have to use, but you can use other words around it as well. Break those out into separate ad groups and use your exact match for the phrases that you know are the ones that you absolutely want to target, get in front of people, bid on them individually. Your broad match is more of your experiment pot, but you're keeping it quite specific as well. Break those out separately so you've got more control and more visibility about what's going on in your campaigns. Off the back of that, really look at your search term reports. The amount of businesses, I'm not talking small businesses either, like we're talking people who are spending tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds a month on AdWords. They don't monitor the search term reports properly. So they're not going through and doing an export on a weekly or monthly basis and going, right, we've had all of these clicks for why are common projects trainers so crap? Like if you're a shop, you don't want to bid on those kinds of terms. Exclude it and go through it and make sure that you're crossing those out and dropping them into a negative keyword list. So things you don't want to appear for, drop it into that negative keyword list, done. For a lot of people, that will sound like the real basics. But if you've got that nailed down, you've got your structuring right, you're looking at the search terms that you're actually getting people through, and you're getting rid of the ones that you don't want, the rest is kind of like the final 10 or 5% to make things really, really good. Get that nailed, everything else is good. Which brings me on to Facebook and a sip of tea. Like, Facebook know you. Facebook really know you. I heard a story the other day that Facebook have an affair algorithm. So they know that you're going to have an affair before you have the affair. Like, yeah, really scary. I know some things about me. So they know that I like bourbon whiskey, that I own a big green egg, which therefore means that I like cooking and meat and short ribs and all of this kind of stuff. Don't like Jaeger. Stag do, yeah. That was probably the last time that I had some Jaeger. I don't know why that's on the list, but apparently Facebook think that I like Jaeger. There's another big list here. Email, current employment, sexual preference, favourite clothing brands, websites you've visited, people you hang out with, friends you've requested, friends that you denied, so people that you don't like. They know all of this kind of stuff. Your IP addresses that you log in from work, from home, on your phone, at different people's houses, like they can track you down to that. They know you better than you probably know yourself. Off the back of that, we can advertise to those kinds of people who like bourbon and don't like Jägermeister, and that's done through audiences in Facebook's system. There are 2 types of audience. Custom audiences, which are the ones that you define. So you could say that you want to target people who are aged between 35 and 50, like I said before, who live in Milton Keynes and who like Porsche, for example. That's your custom audience. You're saying, this is the kind of person that I want to get in front of, and I'm going to build an audience in Facebook's system and push adverts into those people. That's done through their system. And you can actually set it up using a pixel as well. So you can track kind of people who are coming into the site and look at what they're doing. Just to give you an example here, and I'll come back to this in a bit more detail in a while, but we have an example of a pixel that's on a website which tracks people who've watched a certain video. So that could be an audience that you define as well. So you've got a site, you want to track who's watched your 2-minute video or whatever it is. Anybody who watches that, again, is tracked through the pixel that you put on the site. That goes into the audience, and you can target adverts to those people. So you're re-engaging with them. There's also what we call lookalike audiences, and those are people who are similar to another audience. So you could say, well, I want to take anybody who's bought from me in the last 30 days or so, and I want to target people who are similar to that. That can be done down to a percentage, and there is a screenshot in here. You can probably see I'm floundering a little bit because I expected it to be there and it's not. Probably shouldn't admit that, but that's the truth. But yes, you can target people down to a percentage, and it's the percentage of the population. So if you say you want to find the nearest 1% of people to people who have bought from you in the last 30 days in the UK, that is 1% of the UK's population. Same with the US as well. You're targeting down to a percentage of people. So, a 1% targeting doesn't mean you're going to get really, really, really narrow if there's a lot of people who live in the location you're targeting. Here are some of the demographics that you can target. So this is an example from a real client. So mothers with children who are aged 8 to 26 who live in these states. We've got the locations, we've got how old they are, they're female, they are parents to teenagers or adult children as well. They have an interest in being a stay-at-home mum. Their job title could be anything from wife and mummy to mother and homemaker. It goes on and on and on and on. You can really drill down into who you're getting in front of. The next page from this as well. So demographics, the employers, we've got full-time mummy, stay-at-home mothers and wives. Like I said, lookalike audiences. As I said before, you can take people who are, leads over the last 180 days and the nearest 1% in a certain location. So that means that we are going to get in front of another 2 million people. So they are people similar to the ones that we know have already engaged with us. Yeah, it was there somewhere. But whatever you do, really think about that targeting. You ask people who their customers are a lot of the time, and they're like, well, people who want to buy from us. Yeah, okay, all right. So who are those people who want to buy from you? Who is it that's sitting behind that keyboard, chatting to their mates on Facebook who might want to buy from you? Really think about that. Target the right kind of ad to the right kind of person. If you get that mentality into your head when you're running social campaigns, everything else actually gets quite a lot easier. And again, this is common sense. Everything that we do when we're playing on the internet, a lot of it is just common sense. People don't do it. But don't forget the tracking. This is where it does get a bit geeky, so sorry. Pixel tracking isn't just for geeks, it is for everybody, and it should be for everyone. So whether you're a creative who's helping manage campaigns or set campaigns up, or a business owner, or the person who's actually doing it, really think about tracking what's happening. This is the Facebook pixel code that you copy and paste onto your site that gives Facebook the data. So you drop that onto every web page on your site, copy and paste it into the head. When somebody visits a page, it pushes the data back into Facebook's system, and as long as that person is logged into Facebook somewhere, then the data gets dropped into your advertising section. Install it in the head. For a lot of people, that's it, done. But actually, you're not done, because that tells us when people are going to the site. It doesn't tell us anything else, which is where conversion tracking comes in. So we can do things like tracking views of site categories with the pixel. So we can see here, we've got our URL containing the category and then dolphin training equipment. So we want to track anybody who comes into the site and looks at dolphin training equipment, so that if they don't buy, we can target ads back to them again. People who add products to the basket maybe. So we can track people who have visited that URL, which is the basket with an ad product, but they haven't actually checked out. We can add a parameter that shows, so these are people who've added to the basket, they haven't bought anything, so let's target some adverts to them. Something else, there's a nice big list here. So it's view content, that could be any page on the site, they've performed a search, they've added to the wish list, they've purchased, they're a lead, they've completed a registration. There's lots that you can do by default within Facebook. The problem is that actually you're limited. Yes, there's plenty that you can do there, but what if your site isn't set up to work off URLs? Here's an example. So we have a client and they have a chat window. It's not the best looking chat window in the world, but they have a chat window. How do we know that somebody has started a chat if we want to push that back into Facebook? We don't, because that chat sits on websitealive.com. It's an external service. We've got no ability to drop Facebook's pixel into that. We can't track anything. With custom events, we can do it. And that's through code-based event tracking. So remember the pixel code from before? This is the line here, FBQ track page view. That's the line that says to Facebook, somebody has viewed a page. You've got control over this. So once the main snippet's there, you can do a load more. Without going off on a tangent, Google Tag Manager is the way that we do this now because it gives you more control. Google Tag Manager is like a system that sits in the cloud and it lets you do stuff with code. So you could say to Google Tag Manager, put Facebook's pixel onto every web page on the site. It's like it's a control panel for your tracking. That's a really oversimplification, but I'm not going to go into too much detail on it now because we'd be here forever. But the way that it works is with events, triggers, and tags. So an event is an interaction, the trigger is the rule, and the tag is the output. Bear with me, please. So an event could be that a user clicks on a play button. So Tag Manager listens on a web page with somebody who's gone, right, I'm going to view that video, click. That's the event. The event is when the user clicks the play button. The trigger is when the click code fires. So somebody clicks on the play button, and that click code tells the site to start playing that video. That's the trigger for Tag Manager to do something. And the tag is the custom event code. So for Facebook, Tag Manager pushes that tag back into Facebook that says to Facebook, somebody's watched a video. Does that make sense? Some people are like, yeah, yes. Here's an example. So what if we only have a couple of conversions a day on the site? What else can we use? I gave you that example before. So user clicks on a video view, they clicked on that, the video in the background here comes to the front of the screen and starts playing. The bit that Tag Manager's listened for is when that video starts playing, we have somebody on our site who's now engaged with us and are interested in our brand enough to be able to start watching a video. That's important. If we're only getting 2 or 3 conversions a day, them doing that, they're going to spend a minute of their lives watching a video about laser eye surgery. Therefore, they're interested in what we do. We push those people back into Facebook, and they're at the top of the funnel. They might have just started doing their research, but now we've got them. Like, we can start serving ads to them, and we can tell them about who we are. Why are we the best laser eye surgery? Who are the surgeons that we have in our team? Why are we better than our competitors? Are we cheaper? Are we more expensive? If we're more expensive, why are we more expensive? Start taking them through that journey in that funnel by pushing adverts to them. It doesn't need to be an advert of buy laser eye surgery now. It's that kind of touchy-feely, here we are, this is who we are, this is what we do. Come and read a little bit more, read a little bit more, read a little bit more, and you're building that kind of profile up over time. As I said before, so GTM, listen for the click on the button. Here's the code. So all we're doing, when I said with Tag Manager before, we're pushing that code back into Facebook. So we're tracking a custom conversion, which is a video view. The video name is the home page. There's no value because they haven't actually made a purchase. But we could assign, say, £1,000, and the currency is GBP. So if we know that, I don't know, 1 out of 100 people who watch the video actually go on to buy, we divide our kind of sale price versus the number of people that have been in and say, give it 50 quid or whatever it was. We push that data back into Facebook, and this is a pixel helper, so the Chrome extension, which is Facebook Pixel Helper, that lets you look on any site, not just your own, what's going on and what data is being pushed back into Facebook when you're browsing. We can see here the video view with a 0 value, GBP currency, and the video name is homepage, so we know that that's actually being pushed back into Facebook. Simple as that. From there, we can create that custom audience. So I said before, fire ads at them, create that audience of people who viewed the video. And we can see this is how it looks inside the system. So we've got errors pixel, so people who viewed the video in the past 30 days, give the audience name, video viewers, really original, and then we serve some ads to them. Easy as that. Or we take people who viewed the video and serve ads to similar people. So lookalike audience. We know that people who are viewing the video are more likely to get in touch and to buy from us. Let's find similar people to that and try and get them to view our video and then take them into the funnel that I talked about before. You're always trying to get in front of more people in as cost-effective way as possible. Another example would be popover forms. So same site, this is a form that pops up when you click on the book a consultation. Again, there's no different URL, so you can't easily do that by default through Facebook's event tracking system. So what we do is when somebody clicks or opens this form and clicks the submit button, Tag Manager listens for that and it tracks a lead. So FBQ, we're tracking a lead from the main contact form, it's a quote. We know that the average value from that quote is £12.50 because 1 in 5 people or whatever it is actually go on to buy. These aren't real numbers because I don't want to be murdered by my client. And it's a GBP transaction. Again, building up data, building up that audience profile. We can do anything else, like literally anything you want to track. Customer event name, you can give it a parameter, which could be an ABC or a 1, 2, 3 value. Like you could track people who have clicked on the lightbox image of a pair of trainers and serve ads to people who have also clicked on images of pairs of trainers. You can do anything that people interact with on your site, you can track, push back into Facey and serve some ads to. This is how it looks in Tag Manager. So, we've got submit triggers. So if people are submitting a form, that gets submitted through Tagman and we do something with it. You could do a mail to. So, like if you've got a site where you have an email address, when people click on that email address, Tag Manager can listen for that across the entire site. So you don't need to put event tracking on every single last link that's on your site. You just go, if it's a mail to, fire it back into Tagman, push that into Google Analytics as a conversion, or push it back into Facebook as a conversion as well. If you learn how this works and how to use it, you can make your life a lot easier. That's the geeky bit over. I always feel I need to apologise when I go geek, because people either kind of glaze over or go, yeah, I get it. So creative. If it moves, it catches your eye, is generally the rule on Facebook. So we've got an example here. This is insurance, not the most advanced ad in the world, but it catches your eye. And it's quite a niche insurance product as well. Classic bike insurance. There's not that many people looking for it. So if they see that, they're quite likely to engage with us. But split test it. 2 adverts here. So given what I just said about if it moves, it catches your eye, which of those 2 do you think gives you the better ROI? Is it the nice, flashy, moving one, or is it the static, here's some beer, here's some pork scratchings? Hands up for the moving one. Yeah, no. 2x ROI on the static. I don't know why. Genuinely don't know why. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of this. I think it's because it's a carousel. And I think because there's beer and there's pork scratchings and it's actually quite simple, I think people are engaging with it more because it's more obvious. Like this, you actually have to stop and think and read a little bit. So although it catches your eye, you're like, yeah, I don't get that. And you carry on scrolling. I think because you can see some pork scratchings and everyone likes pork scratchings and beer, I think that's why people are engaging.
I think it's also about perceived value, because the left one looks a bit more expensive and the right one looks like something more attainable you could buy someone for Father's Day.
And it's got free delivery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the messaging's stronger on the right-hand one.
I hadn't thought I'm going to use that next time I do this deck. That's a great thought. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, maybe. Don't know. Again, just an example here. Like this is, you don't have to be really, really advanced with your animations to get some movement into adverts. This stuff, you sprinkle it on top of salad and it makes salad a better version of a salad. But like, all you have to do, you've got a camera above, you sprinkle some stuff around it, the packaging's really nice, you've got a nice advert there really quickly, and it animates really well. You don't have to spend hours and hours and hours on this stuff. Here's some examples of how you can use those kind of adverts in carousels as well. So again, on Facebook, it's about these kinds of headlines, the just $1.99, making it stand out, but giving people the option to scroll through. I really like the creative that has the carousel, but you have kind of 3 images which lead into each other, like a car or something like that. I think that works really, really well on a carousel ad. But you don't need a lifestyle image. That is one of our best performing adverts across the whole agency. It's a massive block of orange. It's literally just a block of orange, and it works really well. Again, I have no idea why, kind of. But it stops you. Like, there's so much noise on Facebook now, you're scrolling through, and the changes they've announced in the last kind of week or so with business pages being pushed further down, like, there is so much going on, and there's so much kind of stuff that you see as you're scrolling through your feed, because video and it's autoplay, and you've got GIFs and emojis and all of that kind of stuff. Actually, that's quite a lot of screen real estate, and it catches your eye, so it's worked really well. Forget sound, like 85% of people have you on mute. I'm sure if you're talking video as well, like for Facebook ads or to run it on Facebook, always have a subtitle in there, because if you're sat at work skiving, you don't want to get caught with sound on. Simple as that. This is kind of where people go, all right, so you've shown me some examples, you've said that you don't know why stuff's working, which shows you're a true expert, so give me a killer strategy. Actually, there isn't one. There's no one-size-fits-all with this, because there's so many moving parts about brand and audience and all of that kind of stuff. And also, this is in its infancy. Like, Facebook's really only just getting started. They're still figuring stuff out. 2007, again, when they released their API, it was a crock of shit. Like, it didn't work half the time, but they release early and they release often, and they've changed their approach a bit as they've grown up and as they've matured, but they really are still figuring stuff out. And that means that we're still figuring stuff out. So, in recent months, we found that an insurance client gets their best conversions with custom audiences. Restaurant booking engine do really well from lookalike audiences. We've got a travel client who does best targeting people who live in a certain location and have a propensity towards discounts. There's all kinds of things that we found which are different for each client. But how does this all tie together? Like I said, there isn't one size fits all, but going back to the framework, what are you offering? Who are you offering it to, and what are the goals? Is keyword search appropriate? So can you get that pre-qualified lead because the person knows what they want, they know they're probably ready to buy it, they're just looking for the right place to buy it from or the right price? That's where AdWords comes in. Can you target a demographic? If so, could be Facebook, could be LinkedIn, could be another social platform, could still be display. Is it B2B or B2C? If it's B2C, probably Facebook or Instagram is a good place to start. If it's B2B, don't discount Facebook. Lots of people say it's B2B, don't do Facebook. That's a load of rubbish. Right? Facebook can work for B2B. Target your adverts to when people are sat on lunch or when they're in the office and are more open to having B2B messaging in front of them. Don't target a B2B advert to somebody who's sat watching Coronation Street at 7 o'clock at night because they will hate you. Think about how paid channels overlap as well. So, how can Facebook support the work that you're doing on LinkedIn or through AdWords, for example? And think about how other channels overlap. This doesn't have to just sit online. If you've got offline messaging or events or those kinds of things going on as well, you can target a Facebook ad to people who are within I think it's a kilometre of a certain location. So, good example, if you're selling football shirts, drop a pin on Old Trafford at 3 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, you might get some sales. And think about how you can engage with people when they're going through their day-to-day lives. Map those channels back into your goals, and then build creative that's consistent. So whether that's through text or images, make sure that you're building that brand up. You want to be seen. If we're talking about insurance before, yes, we're trying different things with adverts, but it's still within those brand guidelines. Portion budget, but always have an experiment pot. If you're running AdWords, for example, have a campaign which you don't know is going to work and just drop 2, 3, 5% of your budget in just to try some stuff. Because if you keep doing the same kind of thing, that's when competitors can look at what you're doing and copy it, and you're not staying ahead. And then measure, refine, repeat, all the stuff I talked about before with pixel tracking and so on. Make sure you've got it set up, measure it properly, look at it, actually use the data you're getting. I've had an argument with somebody in Era this week because he dropped 9,000 lines of JavaScript code onto every single one of our clients so that we could track everything from how far down a page people are scrolling to whether it's a blue Wednesday and they're wearing pants. Not everybody needs all of that data, but what data you do have, make sure you're using it properly. So think about what you need to track and then look at it. Some further reading, I'll share these slides afterwards as well, but there's the Facebook developer guide for pixel tracking. If you want to get up to speed on Tag Manager, Simo is an absolute legend, really clever guy, really good site. And for Facebook advertising, John Loomer, again, legend, knows his stuff. I think he gets releases early from Facebook now because he covers it so well. And that, I think I'm on time, maybe. That's it. That's 160 slides in 20 minutes.
Wow. Thank you very much, Matt. Thank you.